Hi there, my name is Catherine Kelly in case you haven't seen any of my videos before. Today I have a really exciting video. I'm going to do a first impressions on a foundation. The foundation I'm going to talk about is super new. I'm here to do a first impressions on the COVERGIRL TruBlend Matte Made foundation. Now this is super new at the drugstore. I don't even think it's actually in Canadian drugstores yet. At least it's not in Newfoundland. I ordered this online from Amazon.com and it did actually ship to Canada, which was pretty good. And with shipping and like currency exchange and everything like that, I got it for just over $18.50, which I think is a pretty good deal for a brand new drugstore foundation. As new drugstore foundations you see these days can be upwards of like $19.99 to sometimes $21. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this foundation and we're going to just check in a little bit throughout the day to see how it's holding up, and then at the end I'll give you my opinion on it. One thing to say, I do believe that this color is a little bit too dark for me. I did swatch it on my hand a little bit earlier and I think it is going to be a little bit too dark. I'll do my best to work it down my neck a little bit, but if it is too dark, that is the reason why. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom you guys in a little bit and then I'll apply the foundation and then we'll see how it looks. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and tie my hair back. And I'm going to use a combination of my Real Techniques Expert Face Brush and a dampened makeup sponge to apply this foundation. I'm not wearing any primer because I don't wear primer on an everyday basis, so I do want to see how this holds up without primer. So I'm just going to take a little bit on the back of my hand. Let's try 2 pumps first. And we'll just apply a little bit right there. And as you can see, yeah, that might be a little bit too dark, but we'll try and make it work. I normally like a pretty full coverage foundation, so I am hoping that it will be that. Mainly just looking to cover this sort of scarring a little bit I have right here. It seems to be going on pretty nicely with the brush. Normally I'll do my whole face with a brush and then go over the center of my face with this makeup sponge. So that's what I'll do. As you can see, it did cover that pretty well. Not 100%, but definitely covered it a lot. This is not one of those matte foundations that dries down really quickly. I do believe it will dry to a matte formula, but right now it's going on and you have time to move it around kind of before it sets, so that's good. Okay, now I'm going to take my makeup sponge and just go over like my nose and chin and stuff like that. Okay, so that's what the foundation looks like after one coat. I didn't use quite the full 2 pumps. I am going to go in a little bit and spot conceal with this foundation a little bit to see if it's buildable in some places. And then I'm also going to take the remainder and work it down my neck a little bit because it is a little bit dark. So the first area I am going to just try to go over this scar a little bit more and we'll see how that does. It seems like the foundation oxidizes a little bit just then when I put some more like wet foundation in. It looks significantly lighter than what was on my face. Okay, that seemed to build up the coverage a little bit more and it doesn't look cakey in that area or anything like that, so that's good. I'm just going to take some and work it over my eyes. Okay, so this is what it looks like upon first application. I actually really like it. It doesn't seem to have dried down yet or anything, so right now it still has a little bit of a luminous finish. I don't really find that it applied cakey or anything like that. I do wish it had slightly more coverage, but it's nothing that you can't amp up with concealer a little bit. So this is what it looks like right now, and it's currently 9:29 a.m. So I'm gonna go do the rest of my makeup, and then I'll come back and tell you how makeup applied on top of it and everything. I will be setting it with like a more compact powder, and also probably doing a setting spray, because those are 2 steps that I do without fail every single day. And then I'll also check in periodically throughout the day to let you know how it's holding up. Okay, I'm back with the first check-in of the day. Unfortunately, I was not able to come on camera right after I finished my makeup. I was in a little bit of a rush. I had a nail appointment to go to, but my nails are really nice, so that's good. So we're now at just before 12 noon. So it's been 2.5 hours. Yeah, I put the foundation on at 9:30. So it's been 2.5 hours, and so far it's looking pretty good. Still really matte. The only things that I see right now are the fact that it seems to be clinging a little bit to dry patches. So that scar that I mentioned that I have here earlier, it is clinging to that, as well as there is one place on my chin that it also is clinging a little bit to dryness. Other than that, I see some breakup in my left smile line, but not in my right. Right now it's not super bad at all. If it stayed like this for the rest of the day, I would be happy, so we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, other than that, I've really been liking it. I think it looks great so far. One thing I did want to mention is that it did dry down matte all the way before I set it with powder, so that was good. But then it also caused a little bit of a problem when I cream contoured on this side. I think since the product was like dried down all the way, it was a little bit harder for me to blend out my cream contour, and it also definitely oxidized a little bit. So I mentioned that when I was applying it, that when I put on a second coat, it was a little bit lighter than what was already on my skin. And I did find that throughout maybe like an hour after I applied it, it did get a little bit darker. So that's something to keep in mind. But there is 40 shades, so maybe if you just got 1 or 2 shades lighter than you thought you were, then it would be pretty good. I don't believe I mentioned I purchased the shade M15, which is buff beige. It is too dark. Looking at the shades online after I applied it, I think I'd probably go with M10, or even I think it's L80. But for right now, it's doing just fine. So like I said, this is after 2.5 hours of wear, and I'll check in with you a little bit later. Okay, just another quick midday check-in. It's now 2:46 p.m. so it's been on for just over 5 hours, I think. And if we go ahead and look at it, there is definitely some oil happening now. I would say that it is definitely a little bit oily, but still not too much yet. This is still like to me looking like good makeup. So the only problem area I really have any sort of a problem with right now is my chin. It looks like it's rubbed off a little bit. There is some like oil production, but it also seems to be rubbed off a little bit. But other than that, to me, it looks pretty good. It might be breaking up a little tiny bit on the nose, but everywhere else, to me, it still looks great. Now we're just at a point where it looks really like set into my face, and like I've been wearing it for a little while, and it just looks a little bit more like natural. Like this is what your skin would actually look like. So I don't really have a huge problem with that yet. I am gonna leave it on for another couple of hours, and I'll check back in one more time, and then we'll see how it's doing. And maybe if it gets a little bit worse than this, we'll see if we can just bring it back to life at the end with a little bit of translucent powder. I did really quick want to talk about the lipstick that I'm wearing today. I'm wearing one of the new Morphe lipsticks that they just came out with. This is one of the red ones that Nikita Dragon was the face for, I believe. And I have mine in the shade Tease. And I think this is like the most orange one that they have. And today's my first day wearing it, and I actually really like it. But yeah, the formula is super matte, but it's also really comfortable. So I've actually been enjoying this a little bit more than I thought I would. So if you were thinking about checking them out, I would definitely recommend doing so. So I'll see you in another couple of hours for our last check-in. Okay, so it's the last check-in of the day, and right now it's just about 5 o'clock. So I've been wearing this foundation for 7.5 hours. So this is going to be my last check-in of the day, but I figured that 7.5 hours was a pretty fair time to see how the foundation performed. So if we go ahead and take a look at it, I am pretty oily. So our last check-in that we did, I was a little bit oily in the T-zone, but it seems that my oil has spread a little bit now and I'm pretty oily everywhere. From a matte foundation, I was expecting a little bit more long-lasting matteness. I don't have super oily skin. I'm more of a normal skin type, so I did expect it to kind of control my oil a little bit more, as this is one of the main claims of this foundation. But looking at it as a whole, it doesn't seem too bad. The oil is definitely an issue, but it's not so much that my foundation is like gone anywhere. Like, it seems that there is foundation all over my face where I put it earlier. I mentioned earlier that it rubbed off a little bit on my chin, and it obviously still is rubbed off, but it doesn't seem to be rubbed off any more than it was then. Same with the smile lines. Like I said in my first check-in, this side was creasing a little bit, and it doesn't seem to have creased any more than that, so that's pretty good. So I would definitely say that this is a long-lasting foundation, and it looks really good on my skin, but I wouldn't say that it controls oil. Obviously, you can see my face is pretty oily. I do really like the way it looks on my skin though. Like, my pores aren't super visible or anything like that, so I wouldn't really have a problem wearing this. You might have to blot or something like that, which I will do in a minute, throughout the day. Obviously, this is a first impressions, and I'm gonna try it maybe with a primer or under some different conditions, like maybe with a more long-lasting setting spray. I just used like a Fix Plus type thing today, so I will definitely try that and keep you guys updated. Overall, I think if you have a normal skin type, that this is a pretty good foundation. It comes in 40 shades, so you shouldn't have a problem finding your correct shade, and it'll be available at the drugstore. So I would definitely recommend, if you're interested in trying it out, that you do. If you have oily skin, I would probably recommend staying away from it. As I said, I have pretty normal skin and I'm pretty oily right now. I am just gonna go ahead and blot with a tissue and then apply some powder, and we'll see how it looks then. Okay. After blotting and powdering, it does look a lot better. I do, however, notice that it's off a little bit more on my chin and some on my nose. Not too much that you like can't get away with it, but it would mean that I wouldn't wear this foundation for something that requires a long wearing makeup. So I actually think this is a great foundation for every day. A rating out of 10, I'm gonna give it a solid 7.5, and I think I will wear this on an everyday basis. This just won't be my go-to foundation for days I need to wear my makeup for a long time. So those are my thoughts on the foundation. This is the first impressions I've done here on my channel. So if you enjoyed it, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. Right now I'm putting out new videos every Wednesday. Again, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!